Hey guys, welcome back to Doc Lil Talks Comics, and I've got more books for you this week than you can shake a stick at. So let's go ahead and dig in with the book of the week. And this week's book of the week is Arcadia #3 from Ignition Press and the Miranda Brothers. And here you get the story of Halu trying to find some Uber pills. And he's trying to help his friend Weedy get better because the blight, something that infects, it's not humans are gone, but it affects the simulacrums that have come after, and eventually it's like cancer, and eventually it kills them all. Halu is not built that way, so he'll never get this cancer, but it shows the life that we had and that he wanted. And in the end, there was peace. And you get to see this setup here with these two old men. And in the end, he found that peace. And he passed on that memory to Halu. And Halu understands the mission. He understands what he's supposed to do. He's got a friend of his that has been fixing his bike forever. And he's got this device that Weedy created. And he goes up to the girl and he puts his hand over her forehead like that. And it shows the life that he wants with her. And she starts to cry. And they kiss. And what's so great about that is that he found love. He found somebody to be beside him. And that's one of the greatest feelings in this world, is when you find somebody who loves you for who you are, supports you through everything, and helps you be a better person. A lot of people don't like the artwork in these books. A lot of people have kind of written the Miranda Brothers off. They've done a couple of books like this for Aftershock, when Aftershock was a company. But this is the best of the 3 issues that have come out so far, and I cannot wait to see where they go with the story in issue 4, because you have heart, you have characters who grow. Like I said before, if you want character growth, if you want true, deep storytelling, you have to go to the indie books, because Spider-Man is never going to truly grow as a character. And I hate to say that, because he is my favorite superhero character, Peter Parker, and his cast of zany sidekicks and characters and love interests. But he's always going to be 25 or 30. These characters can find love, they can grow, they can become more than what they were when you first started reading them. And that's why this is the book of the week. Speaking of which, we have Amazing Spider-Man #22 here by Joe Kelly, and it's got art by Nick Bradshaw, Todd Nauck, and Nathan Stockman in this particular issue. And we finally get to see Peter Parker come home, and he's looking for his aunt, and he's trying to find where she is. And he says, "I've been gone too long. She's gone, and somebody else is living in her apartment, and I can't find her." And in the meantime, Ray is really, really wanting that ice cream. Peter promised her that ice cream when she got to Earth. And in the meantime, he's found that Ben is still operating in the city. So he goes to visit Ben and try to find out what happened to May. And you have that god-awful Chasm outfit again. But in the end, they scrap, and Janine, who is Ben's girlfriend, ends up telling him she's fine. And Peter says, "What did Ben say to her as me?" And Janine says, nothing. He didn't do anything. He barely spoke to any of your people. And it says it was a jerk move, and I'm sure people took it personally, but May never gave up on you. May never would give up on you. And so, in the end, he finds May living with her new boyfriend, Rick. And she forgives him. And it's a deeply emotional tale to see Aunt May forgive him for the 1000th time. But like I said before, there's no character growth here. There's nothing that you can build the character of Spider-Man up, his mythology. You can give him new villains. But in the end, it's always going to be about protecting those that he loves, feeling bad when someone dies, and then apparently at this point being forever separated from Mary Jane. Those are the 3 tenets of this particular regime of Spider-Man. And it's good. It's not great, but it's good. But we have Death Spiral coming very, very soon. Next thing coming up, matter of fact. So we'll see whether Death Spiral can reinvigorate my love for Spider-Man. Like I said, it's not that it's bad, but unless you have growth, unless you have forward momentum, unless you have movement, and you get to see these characters grow. If you go back and read Amazing Spider-Man #1 or Amazing Fantasy 15 from 1962, then you get to see Peter change from a high schooler to a young man. But now it seems he's forever trapped as that young man and making the same mistakes over and over and over. And it's a vicious cycle, or a death spiral, if you will. After that, it's Minor Arcana, issue number 14 by Jeff Lemire. And who does the other? Colored by Patricio Del Pech. And here Teresa comes to find out that maybe she's a broken vessel. She tries to help people with her ability to read tarot cards, and it always seems to end up hurting the people that she loves, because her friend and policeman Brad got injured by 2 thugs that she kind of, told him about. She said, why don't you go check out this plant, this old abandoned plant? And he went. And in the end, then his wife comes over. Missy comes over. It was once one of Teresa's best friends. She comes over and she says, what were you doing here? What was your purpose here? Why do bad things always happen when you're around? And so Teresa has to look within herself, not inside a crystal ball, not inside tarot cards, but instead she has to look within herself to find validation, to find what her own worth is. And meanwhile, her mother Vicky is sick, but she gets to see her father. And her father simply says, not yet. It's not time for you to be joining me yet. Meanwhile, back on the farm, we have evil afoot, trying to bring down the entire town for his own benefit. Trying to find a way to get rid of Teresa and Vicky and everything. And he says, she'll either join us or we'll burn her shop to the ground, then the godforsaken town will be ours. And so Teresa's walking around in the rain, and she says, Missy, she looks so angry and so scared, but I didn't belong there. It's my fault. If I hadn't told Brad about those guys at the water plant, if I'd minded my own damn business, he'd still be. All I do is destroy. I destroyed Missy's life once, and now I've done it again. And she gets home and sees her mom. And in the end, Missy comes and she says that she needs to talk to Teresa. And it's kind of left up in the air whether or not Brad lives or dies, but apparently he's in a bad way in the hospital. So again, you get the character growth that you keep wanting. You get to see these characters realizing things, and the lights cut on in their mind, and they move forward and they grow and they become so much more than Teresa was in that first issue. She was just a sad sack. She felt down on herself, but she didn't know what to do about it. Now at least she has some idea of what she can do about it and how she can go about helping people, even though she feels like she continually tears down more things than she lifts up. This is it, guys. Ultimate Spider-Man number 24. The biggest issue of them all, the final issue of this run. And the main thing that I can say about this book is that Jonathan Hickman found his way. The last 2 or 3 issues seem to have gotten off of the mark terribly so. And I do have to say that even after the time that he was off the title to kind of, pick things up, it feels like Marco Cicchetto's artwork has gotten more simplistic. Look at the line work on the Kingpin's fingers. It's not perfect lines like you would expect, like at the beginning of the title, but instead it still feels rushed. And I get that it's a bigger book, it's a thick book, but at the same time, you want your artist to absolutely go out swinging on the final issue of a book, and especially one that he has put so much time and so much effort into. But in the end, what you need to know is that there's a long dialogue between Peter and Mary Jane, and you're reminded that even though they're trying to tell you in the 616 universe that these two do not belong together, Jonathan Hickman understood the assignment, and he made it to where they love each other, and they will stand by each other. And there was a moment in this book, a flashback sequence, that Peter could have walked away, or Mary Jane could have walked away, and they didn't. They chose to tackle these things together. Marvel, pull your head out of your backside and give us Peter and Mary Jane together again. There are so many great positive things that can happen, and that character growth that I keep pushing and pushing and pushing about, and the fact that it doesn't happen is because you've taken 2 characters that belong together and you've separated them. You can't put either character on a dead path and then expect there to be great stories, great growth. It's like that couple that you knew in high school, and there was a lot of them. Some of them stuck together and they're still together 20 years after the fact. Some of them imploded before they even finished high school, but in the end, those people loved one another, and that's where you get this book. You get to see the love between Mary Jane and Peter Parker, the respect and the business-like love between Ben and J. Jonah Jameson. These characters feel real because Hickman, with the exception, like I said, of the last 2 or 3 issues where he was trying to build everything up to this, Hickman really cares about these characters and understands these characters in a way that modern writers that are not, they didn't grow up with a Peter and Mary Jane that were married, so they don't understand that dynamic. But if you go back and you read from the time that Gwen Stacy died, and you read all the way until the time that Peter and Mary Jane got married, they are meant to be together. Those characters are like Romeo and Juliet. You cannot separate them and have a stronger story. So thank you, Jonathan Hickman, for understanding who these characters are and presenting them in the most positive light and the most positive way. And the last new book that I picked up this week is The Walking Dead Deluxe issue 131. And you don't really get to see much of the Whisperers in this book other than the cover, but you do get to see, let's see, You get to see that Maggie has somebody that loves her and wants to be with her and has good intentions for her. And she keeps shoving him away. But in the end, she's trying to make him stronger. Meanwhile, Carl goes and confronts Earl about becoming his apprentice. He wanted so bad. He wanted to be his apprentice. He wanted to learn that lifestyle. And he says, I'm upset at myself because I waited so long and now that opportunity is gone. So I'm not really mad at you, I'm mad at me. And in the end, Earl said, who said I can only have one apprentice? You gonna be there in the morning? And Carl says, yep, definitely. And let's see. And then Carl reconnects with Sophia. And Sophia seems very happy that Carl is moving to the hilltop so that they can resume their friendship and possibly more. So we have the ongoing saga that Robert Kirkman wrote for 17 years and Charlie Adler drew for about 16 and a half of those. And these awesome covers by David Finch. I love the coloring in the background. That orange peachy type of sky is just amazing looking. So I can't wait for 2 weeks to see how much better this book looks in color than it did in its original black and white presentation. All right, and for the 2 books that we're going to talk about on initial assessment coming up, the first book is White Sky, speaking of The Walking Dead. This has zombie world has ended vibes, and I'm not going to really say much more than that, but you get it written by Bill Harms with art by J.P. Mavinga, and it was an amazing book. So I hope you guys picked it up because I've got a feeling that this might be the next Walking Dead. I said it, and I meant it. And the last book, which is not going to be The Walking Dead, is Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre, issue number 1 from Bad Cave. And this book was done by Fearless Fred Kennedy and James Edward Clark. And this is insane. I think these 2 guys were on cocaine when they did this book. It's amazing, it's funny, it's bombastic, it's explosive. I cannot wait to talk to you guys about this book. So that's 2 videos that are coming up very, very soon. Be on the lookout for those. And in the meantime, guys, love on yourself, love on your neighbors, be understanding, and have a great night. I'll catch you in the next video.